Hey, everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio. I'm super excited to welcome Billy Yfantis. I think I'm saying this right. He's joining us to talk about his brand new album called Birds in Space. Yes, he has bird sounds. And yes, it's all about space. This is pretty cool. I hope you go to his Bandcamp website and go get it. You can listen on Spotify, all those places. But this is really cool. There's 27 compositions to this, and it's one of those albums like honestly, just sit back and listen. I would say listen to it at night and look up at the stars if you can see the stars, right? Depending on where you live in the world. Nancy and I travel the country documenting parks and public lands. So we're very lucky because we get to go to dark sky parks, places where you can actually see stars in the sky. And it's becoming a rarity. So I really appreciate this music because I think not only is it beautiful and makes you think about what the birds are going through too, because they do migrate at night, um, but it makes you really realize about look up once in a while and not just during the day. So welcome, Billy. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Thank you very much for having me in the show. Thank you very
This
much.
is this is exciting what you've done. Like I was saying, to me, I think it's you've created an awareness for the sky, the night sky, but I also think you've created an awareness for bird migration. I know that sounds nuts to others, but did that ever cross your mind about that you create some awareness for these two issues? Because we are losing birds right now in the skies. Hummingbirds are a big deal here in the United States. I know you're in Greece, in Athens, Greece, but we're losing them and it's because of light pollution. And so I was wondering if that ever kind of crossed your mind when you were putting this together.
Actually, my concept is both environmental and related to astronomy. So, because I also love the birds, we have a bird in the house. We have a canary. So,
Oh,
the
yeah.
last track of the album is our canary.
Oh, okay, good. So we would say canary here. Yeah, canary.
Yeah,
Yeah, when we lived in South Africa, they have on the beach in this one area in the coast, in the Cape Coast, they have canary bushes. And canaries live in these bushes, like they're like giant tumbleweeds, and little yellow birds are coming out of the bushes. It's cool.
Hmm.
And then the ostrich walked down the beach. That was cool. But canaries, yeah. But I think they come from Australia, don't they? Canaries, I'm
Yeah, I'm
not
not quite
sure.
sure, but
Mm.
you can find them everywhere. Here in Greece, they are very popular.
Oh,
They are as much popular as cats and dogs. So
oh,
we have many people owning canaries here.
oh, how cool. So the astronomy, and I have to back up because not only are you a musician, but you're a music journalist. You've written all kinds of books, and everyone needs to look you up on Amazon as well. I was looking at how many books now have you written about music?
So I have written 10 books about music,
Wow. A little bit
and
of everything too.
they explore music in relationship with science.
Well, it is connected. It is.
Yeah, because I have a scientific background. I am a PhD candidate in a university here in Athens. So I'm trying to combine the scientific knowledge and the musical knowledge.
Mm,
So I believe that they come into they have a common ground
hmm
because both of them, they are pleasure for the soul.
hmm I agree. I think, well, and you bring up the soul and the pleasure for the soul that sometimes in science we forget that part of it. We want to just see the facts and the
Yeah.
details and the experiment, right? But we forget that feelings and emotions are also part of it because it is chemical, right? So there's got to be some kind of scientific evidence about emotion.
Yes, both of them have my maths behind them, emotions, music. So it's all math related. So it's all about math centered, I would say. So it is
Hmm.
related the one to the other.
So then when you're looking at the stars, how does that relate in regards to astronomy to music for you? For me, it just goes, it's natural. It's just natural, you know? So for you putting this together, where do you see the blending? of the
If you
two?
just look up to the sky and see the stars, it's something beautiful. If you try to see behind the stars and behind the process, there is some astronomical calculations, but it's not, it depends how do you see this.
Mm,
For some people, it's easier to just look up to the stars and see the amazing stars. For other people, it is what is behind the stars, what is the mystery in space.
mm. See, that's the new exploration now.
Yes.
You know, we still think the world was flat. It is round, people. The people who do not believe the world is round, it blows my mind. So, would you go to space?
Actually, I'm going through my music at the moment, so
That's good. You just trip out
I've
on
been
whatever
there,
way.
but not physically.
That's that. I'm with you on that. I don't know if I need to go up there. I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like looking up, but do you hope more people will understand the stars and behind that? I mean, it's so, what I find interesting about your album is it correlates to what's happening now with, if you listen to the music that is coming from like black holes, have you heard some of the recordings of
Yes, yes.
scientific? I think it's so fascinating. And when listening to your album, it's like people would think, oh, it's all pretty, pretty, like Holst the Planets. I don't know if you've heard that album, Holst the Planets.
Yes.
Beautiful, right? But it can't always be. You have parts where you feels like you're going to go through. It's almost like if you're scuba diving or snorkeling, like you're underwater and you're going to go through maybe a black hole or something. So I feel like when you're listening, you're tripping out. Like really, you just everybody needs to just listen, look up. This is something to take time with, to me, and relax with. But I feel like it's an exploration where at times you're going to go through something and you're like, oh crap, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, oh, something could be coming. It could be an asteroid. It could be something, right? So it's not all easy up there.
Yeah, actually, I have used sounds from space in a previous album. I have a song which is called Landing, and I have used original sounds from Mars, actually from NASA. NASA recorded sounds in Mars,
Ah,
on Mars. So I have used these sounds and I created a song which is called Landing. So it
I think we're
has
talking about the
real
same, we're
space
talking about,
sounds.
yeah, I think we're talking about the same one. So it's kind of, it's trippy, you know, when you listen to it. And I think it also spikes the imagination. Is that something you wanted for listeners when you set out to do this? And did you expect to make so much music from this?
Actually, my scope is to try to persuade people to explore astronomy. So
Mm.
we all know astronomy from science fiction, but it's
Mm-hmm.
something behind that. So my scope is that even if people do not listen to my music, just by reading the titles of the songs and Google them, they could find interesting information about astronomy.
Mm.
So my album has an educational and musical perspective.
I think what's good about it, it's sometimes like people want to teach something and you need to put it into a nonfiction, into a story versus here's the facts, you know? And I think sometimes astronomy, it's like really cool to look through a telescope and look up at night, but the science behind it, like history, trying to teach history is very difficult. It has to be a story. We need music, we need movies, we need the stories of the people. I think with what you're doing is you're getting people to be a little bit more curious and less afraid to learn because there's a immediate, it's scientific. No, that's too much for me. You know what I mean? So people get that immediate, reaction of it may be, too, like they don't think they can learn science. And I think you can. I think everyone can. It's just the way it's taught. And through music, this is like a nice, easy way of getting us, inspired to go and learn more. I think it's good with what you've done.
Yes, music and science work in a common way. Actually, the scope of my books is to learn people to persuade people or learn about science, learn about music through science. So it's the opposite, vice versa.
Mm, yeah.
So some of my books have a list of records of scientific books that use music as a tool to educate people.
Mm. Okay, so you wrote a book about progressive rock. Would
Yes,
you would you consider what you've done with this album? Would you consider it going into progressive rock or not? Does it even matter?
uh,
Do we have to label? It's,
no, I think it's all about progressive music, regardless
mm-hmm,
if it's rock or something else. I don't
mm-hmm,
think that people back in the days, they were thinking themselves are progressive rock stars. They were thinking themselves as progressive musicians, like what they did, Steve Hillatz, Tangerine Dream, Emerson, Lake Palmer, all these stars. I think they were down to earth people, so they were thinking about their music and not about the label of their music.
mm-hmm. I we do a lot of interviews, and I know you're also a journalist, with musicians and a lot of prog rock and progressive music. And I never really grew up knowing that term until like maybe the last 10 years or so. And whenever I listen to it and I bring this up with some of the musicians, I'm like, when I think of progressive rock, there's always the music, it likes to build and progress in the actual listening to the music. There's a progression. But everyone seems to be like all the musicians and what they're writing, for some reason to me, feels like their common ground is to obviously love and caring, but there seems to be an environmental feel to almost all of them. For some reason, they're connected to space and earth and water and, fire. We can have that
Yes,
in there. But they
true.
seem to be very connected to the natural elements. And I always ask them, and I don't know if they realize that they're doing it, or I mean, what do you think? Because I wanted to ask you about that specifically when I saw what you've written and also listening to your music going, there's a progression, there's an educational tone that I always hear in prog rock. And I think you've got that in there too, but it's not like a teacher telling you, you will learn this,
No, no, no way.
No. But I think it's like progressive rock is about opening your mind, maybe.
Yeah, progressive rock, it's about being progressive. It means being open-minded, trying to explore things, trying to combine things.
Mm,
So it's not about having only a label or trying to play like 1,000 notes per minute. So it's not like this.
yeah, no
So it's
form.
the spirit behind it.
Hmm. I
So
think,
it's
yeah.
about thinking about earth, thinking about the nature,
Hmm.
trying to combine the virtuosity with an interesting concept behind it. So it's a lot of things behind it. It's actually progressive is the combination. It's not, it's think, it's different thing. It's about the combination of these things together.
Hmm.
The
I
spirit,
agree.
the concept, the music, and the attitude.
Mm. And the spirit and the attitude. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Creating this album for you, Birds in Space, did you do all of the music? Like, tell us about, I mean, how long did it take for you to create all of this work? I mean, this is, I mean, it's pretty epic what you've put together, right? You know that it's epic. This
Thanks
is,
for your
this
kind
is a
words.
trip. This is, like I say, to me, it's epic. To me, everyone, like, it just stop what you're doing and immerse in, do you want people to look at the sky when they listen?
Yeah, actually, it could be their soundtrack by looking to the sky. So the
Hmm.
soundtrack of looking to the sky and listening to the album. This album took me about 1 year and a half,
Mm.
if I remember well. So I have used both virtual synthesizers and hardware synthesizers. So I have used
Oh,
computers and real synthesizers. So it's a
oh, cool.
combination. It's about being progressive, like we were talking previously.
kind of cool because that's what's going on in space too, right? It's like you can't leave the old. You have to still do the new. You want to go new, but you can't leave the old behind, you know?
Yeah,
The only way to progress is to still always keep, like, I feel like that's our balance. Like, just like, you know, how we're spinning and all of that's going on, that balance. That's how I feel like music and progression is. You've got to still spin with the old. And the only way you can do the new is to still keep spinning the old. You know what I mean?
yeah, you cannot have a new thing unless you have an old thing. So it's about the
Yeah.
continuation from the old to the new.
Yeah. Yeah. This anybody just clicking in to listen to this halfway through is going to wonder what the heck we're talking about. We're all beaming up, you know. So where did the idea come from? I mean, it is, you know, of putting this together. Where was it your bird? You know, what led you to go, oh, I'm gonna, or were you recording and then going, because like I was saying, this is epic. So did you expect it to be that epic? Or did you just kind of let it happen as you were recording?
There was an original concept in my mind about using some unusual sounds, like the bird sounds, because in the past I have also explored other sounds, like I have experimented with other strange machines, I could say. So my next project was to make music out of birds, just like
Hmm.
if I remember well, Grateful Dead did in the past.
Mhm.
So while I was trying to make music out of the bird, I found that there was something unique and unusual in the sound of this canary. So this sound spiritually took me to space. So from the canary, it traveled me spiritually to space, and then I tried to combine the space sounds and the bird sounds.
Wow. So that's trippy. Like you just that's a geek out, right? That's like you're just nerding out with something like that. And I love that stuff because it's all immersive, right? So when you were recording the canary, did you change the sound of the canary? Like did you
Yes,
slow it,
yeah.
speed it up?
Actually, because the bird is in space, so you cannot have a natural sound of a bird in space. So I tried to make a lo-fi version of the bird. So I have the original sound of the bird. I experimented with frequencies, with the audio frequencies, in order to make it more spacey bird.
Oh, cool. That's
And
cool.
while I was recording the bird, I was playing some keyboards. So it was like a jam
Okay.
with the canary.
You're jamming with the birds. That's
Yeah,
cool. Well, they say the human voice, I mean, replicates that, right? Music comes, we have no birds, where's our music? You know? That's an important part of it. So you're playing with the bird. Did your bird, you know, like did he or she react to your playing? Like, did the bird ever look at you and say, no, I don't like that sound. I want this sound instead?
actually, it was very happy, the bird,
I'm
by
sure.
listening to the sounds. It was
Oh,
like
it's good.
a meditating experience for the bird.
Oh, wow. Well, it's cool because they're hearing, you know, different sounds and different music, you know what I mean? And it's kinship too. Did you feel an energy between the two of you
Yes,
while you're
of
playing like you
course.
would with a band? Yeah.
The most energy is when you create something. When you create, because when you release it, it's all gone. So
Mm,
the whole energy comes in the process of creating.
hmm and it's weird to release it, right? I was talking about this with another artist interview, and I was talking about how, you know, you create something, and that's why musicians like to perform live because it's that creative feeling again, right? Where it's co-creative because you've got the audience energy, your energy, so there's that co-creation. But I was going, well, what about the artists that do temporary art? Like here it is, and then it's gone. Like we're blow it up. We're gonna, you know, there's an artist who did polar bears, and then the polar bear melted, and that was that. No, it was about climate change, But like, how does it feel to see art just go away? Like, it's weird. Like, you do all this work and then it's gone. It's like a sacrifice in an interesting way. Is that still like when art goes away? I wonder if that's part of a creative process too. Like a second, like it's like dessert, but to me it's sad. I don't want it to go away, you know?
Actually, the artist feels the art when he records it, when he creates the art. But the
Mm,
listener feels the art when he listens to the sound. So it's a different perspective.
hmm
Because when you create something and when you complete something, then it goes to the public and it has its own way, its own route.
hmm We all hear something different, you know?
Yes,
It all means something. Like everybody has a different, an artist will create a song and maybe have this story in their head, but whoever's listening, no, this is my story now. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
This
Yeah.
is the magic of music because when you create something and someone else adopts it or listens to it, it has his own art. I
Mm,
mean, it becomes his personal art because he listens something different from
mm,
what you hear. He
hmm
experiences something different from what you experience.
mm. Have you played the album To Your Bird?
Not yet.
I want to see what happens. You got to see. Because I wonder, because you've changed the sound, right? Going and making it go to space, if the bird will recognize the sound, you know?
Sometimes the bird hears sounds. So because while I was trying to make adaptations of the bird sounds, my bird was hearing the sounds. And I think he thought that we had other birds in the house as well,
Oh, shit. He's like, what? I got
but he could
family.
not find them.
Oh, oh man. So in Athens, what is it like in regards to being able to see the sky? I mean, when we think about astronomers, we always think about going back to Greece. We always think about the ancient lands, right? And the ancient people, our astronomers, and we think about all the philosophers and so what's it like now? I mean, are you able to see the sky or do you have to travel out of the city to see the night sky?
No, no, I am able to see the night sky, and it's very inspiring to see the night sky.
That's
And
it.
in the past, I made a promotional video under the sky, under the night sky. It's very inspiring.
So Athens is pretty good about not having too much light in the city at night then for to be able to see, that like in some of the cities here in the States, there's so much light coming from the cities and people leave all their lights on and the street lights are on everywhere. And that's an initiative. We're trying to fix that where we don't need to have all these street lights on all night long because it ruins the migration of insects and pollinators and birds and it does a lot of destruction. And so I just wonder about the rest of the world if that's an issue like we have here in the United States, because we really do have that issue. It's getting better. I do a lot of night driving and sometimes I wish they'd put the lights back on, but you know.
We used to have all the lights all night, but right now I think due to the climate crisis, they're trying to make some cost reductions.
Mhm.
So they do not have the lights all night.
Mm,
But
that's
that's the
good.
good part because as long as they do not have the lights on, you could see the stars in the sky. So you have
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
stars, the physical light.
it's beneficial. It's nice to, it's and humbling. It makes you feel part of the world, yet also we're so little when you look up, you know,
Yeah.
as human beings. It's very humbling. When you talk about, the night sky, right? And that's how we see the stars. I wonder, like, we look up and we see blue sky and clouds or gray sky, whatever's going on with the weather, but it's still up there. You know what I mean? Like it's still dark up there. It's so interesting to think about the daytime versus the nighttime and understand similar things are still happening, the stars are still there. It's just a
Yeah,
different because of the sun, being so bright. That's like our big bright star, It's just an interesting kind of concept of looking up, not just at sunrises, sunsets, but looking up and seeing out and the stories. Is that something too? The stories of the stars, the mythology behind the stars that inspires you at all?
yeah. Every star has a story, has a little or big or
Mhm.
big story. So every star is a different album. If I could make music
Oh, I see
for
what's
some
going to
of the
happen with
stars.
you. You're going to have to get a different animal sound. Maybe bats. You're going to do bats next?
Yeah, maybe there's a lot of inspiration, but there's less time to implement all the things that I have on my mind.
So you're doing another album like this, or what's happening next?
Actually, my next album is going to be experimental as well.
Mm,
I have recorded some of the stuff, but have not found the concept yet.
mm,
So the music is almost ready, because I have to record some more stuff. But
mm.
I have not found the concept yet of the next album.
And this one started with a concept though, and then grew. So you knew what you wanted first, or did it just
Yes,
come
because
together?
if I find the concept, it might take me to a different direction. So
Mm-hmm.
I will keep the songs that I have already recorded. But
Mm,
if I find an interesting concept, it might take me to a different direction and it might record new music.
mm. Do you ever perform this kind of music out live? I mean, I wouldn't know how that works.
The problem is that most of my music comes from computers. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy to reproduce what you hear because there are a lot of effects, there are a lot of stuff, there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
technology. But in the last year, I have purchased some material, some synthesizers. So I
Mm-hmm.
have some plans
Cool.
to make a different version of the album. Because for someone to hear the album in its entirety, it's not something that I would like. I would prefer to hear a different version of the album.
Mm. Yeah, well, I think it's a personal album to me. It's something that you sit and you immerse yourself in. It's not something you party to, it's something you immerse it's an experience.
Yeah, it's a
So yeah, it's personal. It's not like you would go watch a gig and you're out with your friends and I tell everybody to shut up. 'Cause you know what I mean? It's like, it's an experience. I think it would be really cool to have it like it used in IMAX theater movies, like really cool movies. I see that in with this. Would you want it to be part of movies?
Actually, I am in discussions right now, but I cannot make any announcement yet
Sure. Good.
to place my music in a film.
Good. Good. Good.
And
Good.
we are
It's
in
exciting.
discussions because I found a director who's interested in my music and he wants to place my music in his new film. So I
Cool.
believe that in 2024, I think I may have some news to
That's
announce.
exciting. It takes a long time, huh? You know?
Yeah, because it's the whole process in the industry. Because you
Hmm.
already have the music, but it takes time for the producers, for the directors, for all the people involved in the process
Yeah. And
to
then,
make it.
yep, then it has to go to the editing room, and the editing room is cruel. They cut things.
Yeah,
When-
I hope they won't cut my music.
No, I hope not too. I think it's awesome. I think it just really belongs in a lot of movies. Like I said, because it's an experience. I know that it's experimental, but I think it's experiential as well for people to listen to. And I think we need that. We need to shut out the world sometimes and just listen and experience and be one with nature. And this is a way for people to refocus and reconnect with nature and just kind of unplug for a bit. Listen, look up at the stars. It would be cool if people played it at star parties, like, all the astronomy gatherings when things happen. I think that would be cool to have it happen. Like everyone plays the music when you're outside looking up at the stars. I think that should like really loud.
Yeah, it could be the soundtrack of our lives, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
Music.
yeah, you could have it going and people look up and learn, you know? When you see meteor showers and things like that, don't you want to see, like, hear the music at the same time? You know, when you
Yes,
see that? They
yes.
say another one's coming in a couple days. So we'll be out in nature. So I'm hoping we get to see it, and see what happens. And then they're seeing all the northern lights here lately. And that would be nice to see. That would be cool to put your music to that. Like all the crazy green and pink and red lights. That would be cool to
Yeah,
see.
because the music has also different colors. So it's
Hmm.
about uh, having a soundtrack, a colorful soundtrack.
Oh, so that would be cool. Have you heard of the artist Ted DeGrazia? He's American, but from Italy. And I'll send they did something on Wikipedia on him. He did something about art and music, how the music has different colors. And
Oh,
then he
interesting.
painted because he's a musician, he's a trumpeter. And so I'm wondering about that. We've always talked about that, Nancy, my mom and I, because we're musicians too. And I always feel like different colors go maybe with chakras. I don't know. Like if you can merge it all together, like the different colors according to maybe if you've gone through a different space channel or like a different frontier, right? And different stars. And maybe they all have colors that go with where they are with the different gases, you know? Because look at
Yeah,
what's your cover. Tell us about the cover because of
yeah.
the
Actually,
colors. Yeah.
the cover is the birds, as you can
Mm-hmm.
see, and they're traveling to the galaxy because the concept of the album is about birds traveling in space. So it's like the start of the trip, and the continuation of the trip is in the sound. So you can hear
Mm-hmm.
how the trip goes by listening to the album. So what you
Mm-hmm.
see is the start of the trip, the beginning of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
And what you hear, the continuation of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a gate. If you see the cover artwork, it's like the gate to the music.
I like that. I think it always is though. All covers are like the gate, you know,
Yeah,
even for a magazine, it's like, okay, what's going in there? Let's open the gate and see. I like that. It's really true. But then when we're talking about the colors, a lot of times everyone thinks the night sky is always the purples and the blues, right, with the white stars, but not here. So the color's different than what people would think. It's fiery, you know?
yeah, because it's about space. So when you're thinking about space, everybody has a different perspective of this. So this is
Mm,
my perspective of thinking about space.
I
So
think it's
it's
dusty.
about energy
Hmm.
because energy comes from space. We
That's
get
why nothing
inspired.
dies.
We get inspired from space.
Hmm.
So it's about the cover artwork. It's about the energy that comes from space. That's why it's red. It's hot red.
Ah, from the energy, the heat.
The
See,
heat.
I was like, it's got dust. We sent them dust up there. But I wonder about that because they say like energy never dies. So maybe it goes back to space, you know? Everyone thinks we get buried and all our energy goes down, but maybe it goes up to space. Maybe that's what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't
Why
want to get
not?
religious, but why not? I'm not like religious. I'm just more on the science side, and I always wonder, like, I wish we could see what happens when we die, because our energy doesn't really die. There's no such thing as it just keeps circulating, and I would like to see what happens, like when we die, like what happens to the energy? Like, does it just vaporize up? Does it go back? Do we, give space its energy back, or do we give it to the plants and then the plants give it back to the space? What happens?
I believe that space is like a mirror. So we send energy and it comes back to us.
See,
So, but unless we are very careful about space, it will come pollution to us.
that's exactly, I think that, we'll look at acid rain. What happened, it was in the 70s with acid rain
Yeah,
and early 80s. The acid rain came right back down at us. And look at now, we've made good tracks, I think, for like the ozone layer getting fixed. It's getting better, but then look at climate change, right? I feel like we could pollute space. Haven't we already started? I think we have
Yes,
already started to pollute it.
yes. So it's like space's revenge. So pollution is the revenge of space. So we send positive vibes, we get positive vibes. Right now, as long as we send pollution, we get back pollution.
So do you think asteroids are going to be like all of our pollution is going to come back down as asteroids and get us? Do you think like maybe these meteorites that hit have you been to a place where a meteorite is hit? There's a place in Arizona where I mean it's this giant hole where a meteorite hit, and it's up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and you go walk around and the wildflowers are little tiny little wildflowers. There's something weird about the soil from where this meteorite hit. And so I wonder like if the pollution over the years, because I think we've always been polluting in some ways, right? Human beings, animals, all of us that have lived through these years on planet Earth, eventually it goes up to space and then it comes down like a meteorite or an asteroid and says, here, I've processed your junk and here it is back to you. Do you think that's going to happen? So not only are we going to have climate change and the water's going to rise, but things are going to fall from the sky. Maybe frogs and locusts, but maybe it'll be the meteorites and asteroids.
Maybe pollution is more dangerous than the aliens. So
I know, you're right. I don't care about the aliens. I want to meet
yeah,
them. I think that's going to be cool. I think they
pollution
walk
is
around us.
yeah.
Yeah, the pollution's going to come down. That's
So
like
the
every time they're
negative
like,
energy of pollution is more
Mhm.
dangerous than the aliens. So why should we care about aliens when we have pollution?
I agree. I agree. It's going to come down like big meteorites and big asteroids. And then, you'll be walking down the street and get hit in the head, and it'll be pollution coming from space. And and maybe the aliens are just saying, we're not your landfill, so we're going to send it back down to you. Maybe they're up there and they're happy. They're like, we were all clean, we were having a good life, but you keep coming onto our territory with your pollution. So we're sending it back to you, but it goes and changes format and it just nails us back. Yeah, I think so. See what your music does? That's crazy. Oh,
So
wow.
I have to send positive vibes to the aliens
Yes,
to
we got to be
prevent
nice
them
to the
from coming
aliens
here.
and throwing our trash back in our face.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't want the garbage. We don't want that. So I'm glad to hear that you're writing more music and doing more experiment, because I was reading you were experimenting with beaters, like electric beaters and things like that. So you record. I know a musician who records things underwater. It goes into nature and then he records it and then does, experimental music like that. But you're using like electronic things and recording those too. I mean, obviously birds, there's nature, but um,
I
do you just,
record both physical sounds and electronic sounds, because when I have an original source and it is in good quality, I can make a good quality of music. So I don't care if it is sounds from the nature or from some electronics material.
wow, because there's a lot of sounds and then you can distort them as you want, right? And then change them.
Yeah, it's a kind of environmental perspective, because when you have a sound, you do not take the sound and put it in the recycle bin. So
Mhm.
it's about a recycle of sounds.
Mm.
So you have a sound. In the beginning, you don't really like the sound, but when you create something out of the sound, something creative, so it's like you're doing an environmental creation.
Mhm.
It's
Using
just
what you
like the
have.
nature. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, get the sound from what's around you.
yeah, yeah.
So if
You can
someone's
make
fixing,
sounds. Hmm.
yeah, if someone's fixing the road and they're making a sound with a jackhammer, you can take and record that and then slow it down, speed it up, change it, right?
Yes, my perspective is I suppose you have seen the Matrix, the movie, the science fiction
Mhm.
movie. So it's like we live in two different directions. So the music industry is supposed to be an industry that consists of musicians that they are playing electrical stuff or electronic stuff, or they have physical musical instruments. But on the other side, there is the nature that brings music from itself.
Mm.
So nature is like the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a parallel direction. So you cannot
Mm-hmm.
create music only out of guitars, drums, or keyboards. You can also make music out of the nature.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we are living in a two-side direction.
Mm-hmm. It's binary.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how computers work. And I think that's really how our bodies work too. Everything is like on this binary system, you
yeah.
know,
It's like a
even for
1
me.
and 0, what we say in informatics.
Yeah. Now don't go further than that with me though. I'll go listen to your music instead. I don't want to hear about all those notes, but no, I'm kidding. But I think that really helps, is to listen. And I don't know, there's an emotion. And you said that there's science and mathematics behind emotion. What do you mean by that? How can you quantify emotion and feeling?
If you try to measure emotion from a scientific perspective, you have to use maths. So if you try to measure emotion from a personal perspective, you don't need maths. You just
Right.
need to think for yourself.
Mm.
So it's like a binary direction again.
Hmm. Here we are. Yep. So it's kind of like hot to cold.
Yes, it's like black and white, but you need both of them. Black and white, they go together.
Yeah, you can't have black without white, and you can't have white without black. They're they're peas in the pod. You have to have it.
They are
Otherwise,
pieces of the same
that's the
puzzle.
balance. Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
balance. It's the balance, like we were saying earlier. Very cool. Well, now my
absolutely.
head's messed up for the rest of the night now. I'm gonna
You have to listen to some music.
I know. I think I'm gonna have to go put your album on and watch the stars tonight. That sounds good. That sounds
Oh,
good.
interesting.
Yeah, we're gonna listen to it. Yeah, we're gonna go through. I mean, I think we'll be out in an open place to see the meteor shower. So I'll let you know. Like if we could,
Oh,
yeah, we'll be out in the night skies. So the next couple days, we're looking at this. I don't know where we're driving across the country, so we'll be somewhere at night at the meteor shower. So I'll just look out and we'll play your music and see how it feels. I'll let you know.
oh, thank you.
See
That's
how
very
the
cool.
birds do. See how the birds do. That's cool.
You have to record some birds in the US and you
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
make a song together.
Oh yeah, I'll
I
send you
ha-
I'll send you bird recordings. I think it's so cool to record nature, and a lot of people are doing that, and they get those super, crazy microphones, like, that can really get sound. And what what I'm finding, because what we do is we document parks on public land, so we're always out in
Mm,
nature doing that in between this. And it's just like taking the photos and the photography. It's getting very difficult to hear sound without human life. So you could be in a park and you can hear birds, but way in the distance, you can hear cars, you can hear airplanes, you can hear helicopters coming over. So it's very hard to get just the pure sound of nature now. That's what we're finding.
But when you try to combine the sounds from the city, just like the cars, the helicopters, whatever, and the nature, it's just a different orchestration.
Yes,
So it's like a
agreed.
progressive rock song. You have the
Hmm.
distorted guitars, the helicopters, for instance, and you have the synths, the sounds
And
from the
then
nature.
we have Pink Floyd. We've got helicopters. No, it's true though. It's I think when you record these sounds, then it's documenting history,
Yeah,
where we are. That is the sound of the day, you know. But it is pretty interesting. We go to places before people wake up just so we can, get as much nature quiet, but it's hardly ever there. It's unless you go way out in the wilderness. It's hard because we've taken over everything. The sky is where you have more pollution than on the land, you know? So you could be out in the middle of nowhere where, you have to get permits to go hike in the middle of nowhere, very pristine. You can't hear cars because they're really, really far away and our human ears can't hear them. But airplanes will come over, something like that. So it would be only the sky that really pollutes these areas. So it's kind of interesting what
So
we
how do
do.
you use the sounds? How do you just record the sounds?
Yeah, I didn't videos or just we just listen. Like, you want to
Mm,
hear, like I recorded cicadas, those bugs that,
mm,
there
yeah.
was like a whole group of them and it almost hurts your ears. They're so loud. At that point, unless you really know, like you would know what to do with the sound. I don't know what to do with it. I just go listen to that. That's cool. But you know what I mean?
Mm,
And then if you really, like, I don't know how to do all that sound stuff, but you could probably still hear a car somewhere in there if you know how to dial down. But the cicadas, when you're standing there, are so loud, all of them.
mm.
It's like crazy. It feels like a bunch of aliens are going to come and get you. It does because of the sounds. But but and I get a lot of most of the sounds are from filming. So it's mostly through the camera stuff, but you can separate the sound from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, people keep telling me I need to go get one of those microphones so I can really, you know, record, better and be more scientific about it because there's scientists that use those recordings too to document pollution and where animals are, the state of animals. I mean, we're getting better at understanding what the animals are saying. If this is a sound of distraught, if this is a sound of a happy animal, you know? So yeah, I don't know. One day I'll do that. I'll go out and just start recording sounds everywhere and I'll send them to you and see what happens.
Oh, thank you. It's very interesting also from the sound design perspective, because when you see a movie, when you watch a movie, the most important is the
Hmm.
sound, actually,
Hmm.
because a movie without the sound, it's not like a real movie.
Yeah.
For instance, horror
Yeah.
movies are nothing without the sounds, the screams, or these strange sounds. So I think it's the most important element
Hmm.
in entertainment production.
It also tells the story like I was talking about the cicadas, right? Now, if they made a movie in an area that I know, and I know these certain insects or certain sounds are there, it gives you sense of place. It's part of the atmosphere. It is part of knowing where you are. Like if you gave me some kind of animal that doesn't belong there, you've lost the integrity of the movie. You need to have the
Mm,
sounds like, sometimes if somebody, like in a scene, if somebody steps outside at night and you hear a cricket, that makes you know you're outside at night. You know what I mean? There's certain sounds that you're
yeah.
going to hear outside, or an owl or something like that, right? That happens. So I find, the sound is really important. But we went to a movie theater maybe a couple years ago, and they make the chairs vibrate according to the sound in the movie.
Oh,
So
interesting
it's
experience.
really like it goes through your whole body, and it's really interesting, and it's all about the sound technology so that it's the way the speakers are in the chair. So like the different sounds will go according to the different speaker, and it's like created this. I'll have to send you that interview we did on it because it's like the sound of the chairs, how it vibrates, where the speaker is how you interpret the sound in the movie and feel like you're actually in the movie, that you're there,
I
not
see.
you're one. Yeah. Sound is cool, man.
Yeah, it's very important, the sound, the element of sound.
Well, when you were recording this, a good question actually, because like I know musicians normally do like recordings like, how is this going to sound in the car? How is this going to sound if someone's having headphones on? How is it going to sound in a nightclub? So when you're doing your experimental music, does that kind of thing make a difference to you? Or is it mostly for people listening to headsets? Because to me, that like again, it's that immersive experience.
When I record, I try to record with headsets. So I'm actually trying to imagine how people would listen to my music through the headsets. So that's why I do some tricks. So I'm trying to use some special effects in order to make the fans and the listeners receive special message from my side.
Okay. So you can hear what's
Yeah,
happening
because
100%.
Unless you use the headsets, it's about just hearing sounds. But when you put the headsets on, it's different. It's a whole different experience. You can
That's what I
hear the
mean.
bird
It's
sounds. You can hear the synth sounds under the bird sounds, and you can hear the sound in different directions. So
that's what
when
I
I
was talking about.
record,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. The different directions is important.
yeah, because it
Hmm.
travels you to different directions.
Huh. That's math and science again. Just say.
It's spiritual, not not science.
Yeah, but it does when it makes you move, and it goes, that's, I'm just saying how you were talking about there's always math and science behind feeling. That's an example of it because it's still how the sound waves are moving creates the emotion for the listener.
You use science to create this movement of the
Uh-huh.
waves, the sound waves. But how you experience as a listener, the sound
Yep.
is something not
It's
related to
spiritual.
science, it's spiritual.
No, that's what I'm saying. But the foundation is
So
like here
yeah, I'm trying to use science to make something for the spirit.
to move. Yeah, to
Yeah,
move.
it's
Well,
a
I think when
moving
you,
experience.
well, it's a moving sound. Like that's why, people should listen to this album from start to the end. And you know what I mean? To me, I know you can listen to different pieces if you want, but for me, it's one of those experiences you put on, and then you've got the grand finale. I don't think we've had a 30-minute song for a while. I mean, gee, let's go for it. It's like you're in it, but but that's what life is. When birds fly, okay, if they're going through space or even just way up high, when they're migrating, they go through so much. And that's what I really appreciated it because I know what migration is about and how many countries they fly over, clouds, all kinds of things they have to battle. And so that to me, I know it's space, but to me, it still sounds like a bird migration for me about their journey of what they go through when they fly and go from place to place. And then when they think they're going to be able to land in a place that, DNA has done, and it goes through their DNA of where to land. I mean, birds will come and nest in the same backyard every year. Their children will do it and their children will do it. So it's in their DNA, go here. Even if they haven't been there before, it's in their DNA to go land there. And then if the place isn't there anymore, that sucks. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we can't land here anymore. It's like when you're traveling, you've got a clean bathroom and then the bathroom's been closed. You can't go. You need to go. It's too bad. You know what I mean? Or your favorite restaurant is suddenly closed. That's what happens to them. And yet they go through absolute beauty as well. When they're flying above, looking down at Earth, they're the ones that get to see both. It's pretty darn cool to be a bird, but hard. And it takes a lot of energy. So I really appreciate it from that perspective of the bird, what they go through, because they do. So not necessarily up in space. They might die if they do that, but up there, So I think makes people realize what birds go through.
Yeah, because actually it's how the birds feel and how the people can feel. I mean, people cannot fly; they are not birds, but
We want to be.
yeah, absolutely. But they can understand what is
Hmm.
going on.
Hmm. Right. And so the more we can do for birds, the better. I'm like, people should put water out in their backyards, put it on their apartment patios, whatever, put water and shelter. It's like knowing people are traveling through, we used to give, food and shelter through people who are nomadic, So
Yeah,
now we have restaurants, but, you know, but it's the same way, so very cool. Definitely a lot to think about from your music. And I hope everyone appreciates how much work you've put into it, and it's beautiful and it makes you think. And I can't wait to experiment and hopefully we'll be able to do the meteor showers and your music at the same time. I think that's going to be cool.
Yeah,
It'll
it
be
sounds
fun.
very cool.
Yeah. Well, what's your next book? Are you working on another book?
No, actually, I'm not writing a book right now. I'm focusing on music
Okay.
because I'm
Cool.
trying, besides my experimental music project, there are some stuff I'm doing with classical music.
Oh,
Yes,
cool.
actually, I'm recording a piano album, an album
Oh,
of piano music. So it's
cool.
a type of romantic album with
Hmm.
atmospheric sounds, piano sounds. So
Huh.
it's something that goes in parallel with the experimental music.
Hmm. By
And I
using the
have
piano.
to devote more time into doing these different things, the
Mm.
experimental side and the classical music side.
Oh, cool. So you're putting the
So
old and the new again.
yes, so it's the trip from the old to the new.
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's progressive. There
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
progress as a process, of course it is.
I love it. I love it. Everyone, you can keep up with Billy. You're on Napster. Wow, I haven't heard about Napster for a while. Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, Bandcamp, which is very good to musicians. And it's Billy Yfantis. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. You sound
It's
Greek.
it's yeah, I'm trying. Yfantis. So Billy Yfantis, and that's on Bandcamp. He's also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go to Amazon for his books. I think I got all your links there. Yeah, you're all over.
Yes.
He's everywhere. All right. Well, thank
I
you
try.
so. It's awesome. It's awesome. Thank you so much, Billy. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure to speak with you.
You too.